The crowd at the university auditorium was electric, buzzing with the anticipation of what was promised to be an unforgettable conversation between two giants from vastly different worlds. On one side was Senator John Kennedy, the homespun conservative from Louisiana, known for his folksy wisdom and devastating one-liners. On the other sat Trevor, the globally adored comedian and political commentator, wielding charm, wit, and an unmatched gift for storytelling. This wasn't a debate, at least not officially. It was billed as a civic dialogue, a meeting of minds meant to bridge the divide between America's political and cultural poles. But behind the cordial introductions and photo ops, everyone knew tensions would rise, and no one could have predicted the emotional roller coaster that would unfold. As the stage lights dimmed and the spotlight tightened on the two men seated in their leather chairs, Trevor opened with his signature grin. "Senador Kennedy," he said with a warm chuckle, "if charm were policy, you'd be president already." Laughter rippled through the crowd. Kennedy leaned back, smiled with the weight of years behind it, and fired back, "Son, if wit were wisdom, you'd be Secretary of Common Sense." The audience roared, but the laughter quickly gave way to a deeper, more charged tone as Trevor pressed forward. "You often say things that sound simple, Senator, but the consequences of those ideas on real people can be devastating," Trevor said, his tone shifting. "How can you justify cutting funding to education programs in underserved communities, when we both know that access to knowledge is the key to breaking generational poverty?" A murmur passed through the audience. This was no longer light banter. Kennedy paused, clearly aware the moment mattered. He took off his glasses, wiped them slowly, then looked directly at Trevor, not with anger, but with something softer. "I grew up poor, Trevor," he began, his voice steady but low. "Not can single quotes T-afford, the latest iPhone, poor. I'm talking no electricity, shoes, with, holes, in, single quotes dinner, sometimes is poor. You think I don't understand poverty?" Trevor blinked, taken slightly aback by the vulnerability. "But I also learned that throwing money at a problem doesn't fix it if the system around it stays broken." Kennedy continued, "I don't hate the poor, I was the poor, but we have to fix the foundation, not just paint the walls." The room was silent now, each listener processing the shift. Trevor nodded slowly, the tone of the conversation changing from confrontation to something much deeper. "I respect that," Trevor said. "But don't you think that your policies or natafan pull the rug out from under kids who have no safety net?" Kennedy sighed. "That's the part that keeps me up at night." "But tell me this, Trevor, how do you measure help? Is it by how much you give, or how much someone grows because of what you gave them?" Trevor sat quietly for a moment. The crowd held its breath. "Maybe it's both," he finally said. "Maybe it's knowing when to help someone walk and when to let them run." The back and forth continued, but now it wasn't to men trying to destroy each other with sound bites. It was to men shaped by very different roads trying to meet in the middle of a broken bridge. Then came the moment. Trevor turned personal. "You know, I grew up in apartheid South Africa. I know what systemic oppression looks like. I also know what hope feels like. My mother used to say, even the most bitter seed can bloom if you plant it in sunlight. What I fear, Senator, is that we keep leaving so many seeds in the dark." Kennedy leaned forward, elbows on his knees. His voice cracked slightly. As he spoke, "My mama used to say, son, sometimes the truth doesn't set you free. It just shows you where the chains are. And the chains are real. Trevor, I see them too. But if we only shout at each other about who put them there, we'll never get to cutting them off." A hush fell over the auditorium. There was no destruction that night. No viral gotcha moment. No one won. Instead, something rare and raw happened on that stage. Two people listened. They challenged each other, yes. But more than that, they let themselves be vulnerable enough to care, to feel, to be changed by the conversation. As the dialogue ended, the audience stood not in frenzy, but in reverence. They had come for fire and fury. They had witnessed something far more powerful. On the walk backstage, Trevor turned to Kennedy. You got me tonight, he said with a half smile. Not with what you argued, but with what you felt. Kennedy chuckled. Feelings don't win elections, son, but maybe they heal countries. And that was the moment the line that echoed across the internet. The clip that spread like wildfire. Not a tape tone, not a roast, but a reminder. Feelings don't win elections, but maybe they heal countries. The message was clear. We don't always need to destroy the other side to be right. Sometimes, the most powerful thing we can do is listen hard enough to change.